Hey everybody, welcome to another Pro Acoustics Tech Talk. I'm Nathan, and today we're going to be talking all about how to set up a sound system for your baseball field. All right, first, so we need to look at what type of audio equipment are you going to need for your sound system. First, we're going to need a mixer, maybe a mixer or amplifier to power the speakers. Then we're going to need maybe something like a microphone for play-by-play announcement, something like a media player so you can stream via Bluetooth, maybe a wireless mic or two, maybe a rack to store everything in, or maybe we're just going to let it all sit on a shelf. But then that eventually leads into the most important part: what kind of speaker are we going to use? We've talked in some other videos about the difference between a stadium type speaker versus a more conventional background or foreground level music speaker, and we're always going to want to lean this way to make sure we can project sound out good long distances for ball fields. It's important to take into consideration, setting up a speaker at a press box on a ball field. It may need to travel 200, 300 plus feet, so something small and like a traditional side-by-side woofer type configuration isn't going to travel very long distances. So the most important thing for us to think about now is where are we going to put speakers. Got a handful of baseball fields for us to take a look at here on some different options. But for a lot of small baseball fields, anything ranging from little league even to small high school, a pretty common way of doing this is for us to put two speakers on the press box behind home plate. Normally firing one kind of down one baseline, the other kind of down the other. This covers your fans in front, covers your fans down each baseline, also spills out onto the field so the players can hear their favorite songs or their names called out while they're playing. The benefits of doing this type of configuration is short cable runs, just running from an amplifier inside the press box up to the roof a couple of times. Normally 100, 150 feet can make that happen no problem. And the sound is very close to the fans. If you grew up playing ball, like in my day, you probably just got used to hearing either nothing or something like a little megaphone or paging horn. So stepping up with a couple of these types of speakers and being able to hear music at your games is going to be a huge upgrade. So having it close to the fans is going to be great because they're going to be able to immediately enjoy all that energy as the sound goes by them. We can also use a more medium or short throw speaker with like a 8-inch or 10-inch speaker that's designed more to throw sound like 50, 100 feet to where we don't have to use some of the great big stadium speakers which have higher costs and need bigger amplifiers. Some of the disadvantages of this type of configuration may be that it's going to be loud for these folks right here. So another way that we can kind of get around doing that is the possibility of adding a third speaker to fire at the field itself. Many times this means we'll be on a multiple channel amplifier so we can turn down these outside speakers, to where we're not necessarily blowing away the fans. Or we can use smaller speakers out here and a bigger speaker here, which will give more energy at the field so we don't have to crank everything up so loud to make sure that the players and the pitchers and the folks in the outfield can hear what's going on at the expense of the folks right here nearby. But that ultimately leads into another configuration question we get a lot of times, which is, what about putting speakers on my light poles? Maybe you have poles all the way down here, or just on each side of the press box. We can still do something along those lines, and you got pros and cons of both. Going with light poles means that we can maybe put a speaker firing this way, another speaker firing back here, in order to cover our bleachers and also spill out onto the field. But inevitably that means we got to run wire out to these poles. We also have to have the pole mounting hardware. We also have to trench this distance. We also have to use thicker gauge wire, bigger amplifiers. All of that adds up to additional cost. So sometimes this may not necessarily be the ideal configuration because of some of those factors. But we can definitely do that option if you are most interested in that solution. Baseball also sometimes leads itself to some unique configurations because we sometimes also have a backstop. Sometimes a chain link or other backstop that's designed to keep the ball from going back into the fans. People ask me a lot, can we put speakers on the backstop itself? It's important in all these configurations to think about sound as disturbances in the air. Think of a speaker like a water cannon. It's sending the sound exactly where we want it to go. I put a speaker here, I point it that direction, that's where it fires. So if we're going to use backstop speakers, we have to actually fire a speaker towards the fans and then also out towards the field. because the players aren't going to hear anything from these speakers. So we have to actually fire sound back towards the field as well, which means that we may need, first of all, more speakers, more amplifier channels, run longer wire runs than we would be if we're just going to the press box and that kind of thing. Also, with baseball, sometimes we don't have a press box. Sometimes we can't put anything on our backstop and we have basically nothing, no structures out there. In some cases, you may have a dugout, at one position, which I've done in the past, is actually physically put speakers at the dugout, to where we've got a speaker that fires over at the fans or at the players, then a speaker firing at the fans. We can do that. We can have this all wire back to another location where we can have portable electronics, like your mixer and your amplifier and everything in a nice portable rack and have it wire over to that location. Or I've even done sometimes a scoreboard system out in left field or right field, put speakers on that and have that fire. One of the drawbacks there is that that's going to be a very long distance away. The outfield in a baseball field may be 350 plus feet away, so that means we have to run speaker wire out to those speakers from the amplifier wherever that's positioned, and once again that incurs labor cost, material cost, all that kind of good stuff. On a backstop, on a dugout, on a scoreboard, we can find some kind of route to make all this work ultimately for permanently installed speakers and then portable electronics if desired. So these are all kind of some different options that we have available for doing your baseball field. A lot of packages on our site are going to look a little bit more like this for all the reasons why I've discussed here, but we can always review these together. We can always look at adding Bluetooth receiver, wireless mics, all that kind of good stuff that I mentioned. If you have questions about how we can best assist with your facility, definitely reach out to us, www.proacousticsusa.com, or give us a call, 888-256-4112. Once again, my name's Nathan. Click the subscribe button. Let us know you're watching. Let us know if we can help with any of your projects. And until next time, guys, we'll see you then.